Hello viewers, in this video we are going to talk about DAX in Power BI. As of now, till now we have seen lot of concepts in the Power BI. Let's say we have started it from importing a data. So we have imported a data from CSV files, right? We have imported data from CSV files. Then actually we have come to the Power Query section, and in that section we have just transformed the data. We did a lot of stuffs. Let's say we have added a new column based on some condition, right? We have seen how to find errors. We have seen how to remove the blank rows, duplicate rows. Okay, this stuff we have seen, and after that we went on. Before that we have did a lot of stuff, and then we went on to create a model. So model is the relationship between different tables, right? Before that we have seen what is primary key, what is foreign key, right? And based on that relationship, whether it is a primary or whether it is a foreign key, so this key is dependent on the schema of the table. So dimension table have the, right, what it is dimension table has, exactly, table has primary keys and fact table has the foreign keys. So based on that relationship, primary and foreign keys, we have built the model. And there was one condition, or the condition is that the relationship, that is cardinality. So we have found the cardinality between the tables, right? If you want to know what's the cardinality, what does the cardinality means, I have something here for you. In one of the website you can see what are the definitions for the cardinality, what are the synonyms for the cardinality. So here you can see there is one, it is the property of relationship between the database tables, right? So we have seen it before. So there were number of tables at the table, the relationship between the database table and another one, okay, specifying whether it is a one to one, one to many, many to one, or many to many, database and modeling. This was exactly the cardinality means, and we now know how to connect them, on which basis we have to connect them, one to one, one to many, many to one, right? And now since we have connected the model, created the model, now we want to find some values, right? Let's say if we want to find some total revenue generated throughout the report, like throughout the data they have, okay? So how can we do this? Or let's say want to find some total order quantity sold, okay? Or something, I have to find some customer, total customers are there, how many customers are there. So this kind of data we can find, and lot of stuff we can do. But before that I want to introduce you to with a uh, one important terminology in the Power BI, that is DAX, okay? DAX, that is data analysis expressions. So what does it do? I just explain a bit about it. Like we can find, actually we can find anything, but for sake let's find some total revenue, or total orders, or total customers, or we can have some calculation by using the functions. Then now let's talk about functions. What are the functions? Functions are nothing but the formulas used in the Power BI, okay, in DAX, as a DAX. So what are these functions are? There are very simple and basic functions, and there are some moderate level functions, and there are some advanced level functions also. So as most of you know about Excel and have handled Excel a lot, I consider that. So those who have worked with the Excel and advanced part of the Excel, then they must have knew about the formulas used in the Excel. For example, very basic sum, calculating a sum, calculating the count, applying a conditional, operation by using if, count ifs, if error, ठीक है, sum ifs, count ifs, so and operation or operation. So these are the basic formulas in Excel. So exactly that formulas are applied in this Power BI DAX. ठीक है, the functions can be used in the DAX. Okay, so what are other, so there are a lot of, we are going to see one by one, but I just wanted you to just introduce to this DAX concept. Okay, so if we go and see something about mhm, DAX. Okay, so what is the DAX? Go here, right? Let me drag this to this side, and let can you please focus on this area? Okay, so we are going to write DAX. What does DAX means? It is data analysis expressions. ठीक है, it is data analysis expression. So it is data analysis expressions, but what does that expression means and how it looks, right? So before that, let me compare it with the Excel formula. When you have an Excel, and in one of the Excel cell, if you want to find the sum of two cells, A1 and A2, suppose there are two numbers 10 and 20 in cell A1 and A2, and in A3 if you want to find the sum total of this, so what do? You go and write sum of A1 to A2, right? And when you hit enter, you will get an output of 30 in the C3, right? So this was an expression. There were some function used, and there were some range given. Based on that range, based on that function, it calculates the total. This is what happens in Excel, right? So when you use the sum function inside a cell, you started with the equal sign, right? But in Power BI, when you're trying to create the any value, right, then you have to provide some the syntax for this DAX. Okay, so what is the syntax exactly, right? So for, let's compare in this Excel, the data is coming from A1, A2 range, right? So you directly given the range, right? So because the data was available in this A1 and A2, you use that range in a function called sum, and that function given you the output which is 30. But right, but in Power BI, the where your data lies, where your data lies in tables, right, in one of the column, right? So how can you get it? Suppose you want to find, suppose you have a cell, ठीक है, let's say cell, this is the column, or quantity, let's say. Suppose you have a table order info, ठीक है, and in that you have columns, let's say order ID, ठीक है. After that you have, okay, order, sorry, you have the, oops, okay, you have order quantity and you have order ID in this table. So order ID, suppose your order ID is 1 and your quantity is 10. Your order ID is, let's say order ID is 001, quantities are 10. 1002 is order ID, your quantities are 20. 1003, your quantities are 15, okay, whatever the quantities are. And in this table, when you're trying to find the sum, right, sum, so how can you do it? The date in Excel you could do it, and in this table there are columns, and the data is in one of the column which you want to find a sum of, okay. So you'll find a sum, let's say total quantity, okay, total quantity. Now this is the DAX I'm creating. Okay, so this is the DAX I'm creating. So this will be the variable or my DAX, okay, which is holding the this calculation of the expression. In calculation means I'm using a sum, okay. So let's say I'm using sum. In that sum, now I have to pass the column, or basically I have to pass the values 10, 20, 15, but I cannot directly pass the values, or simply I don't have here as a cell reference also. I cannot pass a range. So there is a syntax in Power BI, and that syntax is, before applying the sum, I'll just explain about syntax of the Power BI. When you are talking about table in a DAX, when you're let's say this is the DAX, okay, DAX syntax. When you are talking about table, then table should be of should have the single quote. Okay, so my table name is order info, so I'll have order info. This is my table. When you're talking about column, your column is in which of the in which table your column lies. Yes, it lies in order info. Then what is the name of your column? It is order quantity. Okay, sorry guys. So when you want to assign a table, use a table, then use the table name exactly in a single quote, right? This single quote are reserved for the exactly the single quotes are reserved for the table representation. And this total syntax, like this column is coming from this table. Since you are applying using a table here, you have to use this single quote, and column is represented by this square bracket, but not individual. It means this is not separate. This total entity comes together. Okay, this is how you can represent the column. This is how you can represent the table, right? So there is one other concept like measure. Okay, when you want to use the measure, you can directly use this. Let's say total quantity is your measure. I will explain what is I will explain what is measure and what is calculated column later on. But this is how you can explain it. So in here you use let's say you want to find the total sum from here. So how can you use it? Go here, sum, find the sum, and your total quantity will be of 30, 40, 45. Okay. So this will have now 45 as a value. So this is for the today's lecture. We'll see rest part in next lecture.